I just wanted to speak today real quickly about how I believe we've made manifestation so complicated that many people get frustrated and end up just quitting altogether. And I know there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different methods, and there's a lot of many different people respond to things differently. So I think there's truth in all of them. I mean, if you want to do a bunch of methods and make it complicated, and that's something there's some people built for that, and there's some people that are into that. But there's also people who feel like so overwhelmed that they don't know which way to turn. And I think this is who this video is for today. That's who I'm trying to make this video for today. Some might say, well, it's good to give up. I've heard some people say, well, when you give up, you detach. When you detach, that's when things happen. And there's truth in that. See, but the thing I'm talking about, that's not quite it. I'm talking about people who get so agitated and upset that they stop believing that it's even possible. And when they don't believe it's even possible for them, and even worse, they just start thinking the law of attraction, the law of assumption are just lies, and that they don't really exist and they don't work at all. That's where the problem comes in, because it does work. I have living proof in my own life that it works, and obviously there's many others that just look at YouTube, and I think most of those people, if not all of them, are telling the truth, that they've experienced amazing things happen in their lives by changing the way they think, by changing the way they act, by believing differently about who they actually are, by changing their self-concept. You know, and some people say you don't need to do that. Some people say it's all about just being one with source and living in the moment. But as you listen to all these different people, and I listen to a lot of people I don't even agree with, I'll listen to. There is one thing that rings true, and I'll get to that in a minute. But for right now, I'm going to give you a couple concepts that I do believe in. I believe the law of manifestation or the law of assumption was created by a creator. I think that we are created by creators, and thus we are creators. So we're co-creators at the very least. And I also know that what we believe and what we think and how we act and who we're being brings that same kind of energy into our life. Like attracts like. There's no doubt about that. So I know some people say that we are God. There is like that we are the last, we are the source, and that's that. Even in the Bible it says that, didn't I say you are all gods, but it's spelled with a little g. So I do believe we're like the children of God, but if you're a child of somebody, then you are one of them. So yeah, I think we are little gods, fragments, fractals of God. Do I think we're just God and that's it? Like, I think once again, back to Eckhart Tolle and his perspective, it's like God is the sun, and we're all the little sun rays, the rays of light shining from the sun and heading that way, going in this direction, having this idea, living this way, doing this. But we're all emanating from the same source. And I do believe that's true. I also know, because I personally know people like this, who were just raised right, and they were raised to believe in themselves, and they have a very high concept of themselves, and they believe that things are going to work out for them. That's how they were raised. I think most of us, unfortunately though, were raised to to think life is hard, money is hard to come by. If you make a lot of money, somebody else has to make less, and all those kind of things. That's just financial stuff right there. But there's an example right there that other people are better than us because they have the money to dress nicer than us, or where they live, or the family's last name, all that kind of stuff. And I just think we're all equal, But there are people who manifest wonderful lives and they don't even know about the law of attraction or the law of assumption. They just already had that belief and trust in themselves, trust in God, the universe, life, whatever. And therefore, they've attracted a lot of things to themselves and they feel pretty good about themselves. So I do believe it is a law. Some people go, well, the law of gravity works all the time and the law of attraction doesn't. And I kind of disagree with that because the law of attraction does work all the time. It's just that we just think it only works when good things happen. But if you're expecting bad things to happen all the time and you're always watching for the other shoe to drop, as that old saying goes, and things are going to go wrong and I'm going to get sick and I'm going to have an argument with my spouse or whatever, or just or my job, my boss sucks and I don't trust them. I bet they're going to fire me. If you're thinking that kind of stuff, like attracts like, man, you're drawing it back to you. That's what you're drawing to yourself. And I think that's just so important to remember. So for the most of us, we do have to restructure our self-concept, our identity, because it was given to us by people who didn't believe in themselves, who had their own problems with money, their own problems emotionally, mentally. They felt stifled. They were told they weren't worthy. Yeah, worthiness. There you go. That's a huge one. They were told they weren't worthy, and they believed that, and they passed that on. Most people on earth don't feel like they quite add up. Most of us feel like we're falling short in life. And we don't have to live like that. And that's what the law of attraction does teach us. If we did have an upbringing that brought us to a place where we feel like everything's always down on us, then that will be how our lives unfold. Here's the real secret that I was talking about earlier. All right, the pool just started running here, so it's making noise. So I'm going to cut this short now. I believe the universe is always working in our favor. And I believe God, the creator, has things happen for us, not to us. And maybe they need to happen for us to change, for us to wake up, for us to realize that there is a law of attraction and a law of assumption, and that we need to start believing and seeing things differently and trusting ourselves and having a better self identity. And I think that's why some of us have some rough things happen, and it's because we're expecting rough things to happen on top of it all, some difficult things. So when you're living like that, yeah, some tough things are going to happen, but that does not mean that the universe isn't helping you along the way. Without those situations, you may never wake up to the fact that you can have a completely different life, that you can have wealth, that you can have health, that you can have wonderful relationships. That is the most important thing. And beyond belief, it's about knowing. When you really know it deep in your soul, deep in your heart, that is when you lock it in. You just lock it in and you stop doubting. And that's when you start detaching, because you start living each day as if you already have it. And that's the key too. Just living each day, even if it's not sitting there in front of you, start living like you are that person and like you have everything you ever dreamt of. That takes meditation, that takes visualization for most of us to accomplish that mindset. I have a book called Unleashing Destiny, and it's on Audible and Amazon. I'll tell you what, the Audible version of it is fantastic. I have another book called Believe the Best About Yourself and Your Life, Living Beyond Childhood Trauma. And I wrote that book. That was the first book I wrote, and I wrote it from like a so that it doesn't matter if it's a 12-year-old or a 70-year-old, they can read this book. It's a short book, but it's very uplifting, and it tells you the steps I took to get past my childhood trauma, and the steps I'm going to have to take to get past this bug flying in my face. No, but seriously though, it could help anybody of any age. So even if you're a mother and you want to help your son who's 14 or 12 to get past some things that happen, you could buy this book for them. It's very uplifting. It's step by step. It makes sense. It's an easy read. So that's another one. Check out those two books. And you know what? Tell me what you think. I shared my thoughts with you. Please share what you think about the law of attraction and the law of assumption. And let's talk about it. Leave me a comment and please like. I appreciate you guys.